My fiancée invited the sister who destroyed my life to our wedding without so much as a heads up, and I only found out as I walked down the aisle. In a split second of rage, I grabbed the microphone, announced I was calling off the ceremony, canceled the reception, and stormed out, leaving her standing there speechless as she realized she'd just lost our entire big day. I'm Brian, 31 years old. 6 months ago, I got engaged to my girlfriend Lily. We'd been together for 5 years, and I thought we were about to start the happiest chapter of our lives. The wedding was set for next month, but recent events have shown me just how wrong I was. To understand how things fell apart, you need a little background. I have a younger sister, Sarah. She's 28, and I haven't spoken to her in over 9 years. And believe me, there are good reasons for that. Sarah and I never got along growing up. Our parents kept trying to push this picture-perfect sibling bond on us, but all we did was fight. Sarah was constantly competitive, always trying to one-up me in everything. I still remember the moment it all started. I was 10, and she was 7. I had just won a spelling bee at school, and our parents took us out for ice cream to celebrate. Instead of being happy for me, Sarah threw a full-blown tantrum in the ice cream shop. She screamed that it wasn't fair and claimed she could spell better than me. She even demanded our parents quiz her right there in public. It was embarrassing and uncomfortable, and that was just the beginning. As we got older, things only got worse. If I got an A on a test, she'd obsess until she got one too. When I was 12, I won a local art competition. Our parents took us out to dinner to celebrate, and once again, Sarah threw a fit in the middle of the restaurant. She yelled that she could draw better and insisted on showing everyone her sketchbook, turning what should have been a proud moment into another scene. That kind of behavior became a norm. I joined a basketball team. Suddenly, she was into basketball. If I liked a girl in high school, Sarah would either buddy up to her or flirt with her just to mess with me. It was exhausting. Home didn't feel safe. It felt like a never-ending competition. Our parents tried everything to help. While I was 16 and Sarah was 13, they put us in family therapy. But Sarah refused to participate. She'd sit there with her arms crossed, barely saying a word. Eventually, the therapist told our parents there was nothing more they could do unless Sarah chose to cooperate. Things reached a breaking point in our early 20s. I had just graduated college and landed my dream job at a top marketing firm. The pay was amazing, the benefits were great, and it was the kind of position I had worked my whole life for. Sarah, meanwhile, was still in college, constantly switching majors and falling behind. At a family dinner, I shared the good news about my job. I expected at least a polite congrats. Instead, Sarah lost it. Her face twisted in anger, and she started yelling, accusing me of always needing to be the center of attention. "Why do you always have to be the golden child?" she snapped. "Why can't you fail for once so someone else has a shot?" Her words hurt, but what really stuck with me was the look in her eyes. It was toxic, pure bitterness and envy. My parents tried to calm her down, telling her she still had time to figure things out and that my success didn't take anything from her. But she wasn't having it. She stormed out, slamming the door so hard it knocked a picture off the wall. Later that night, I overheard her on the phone with a friend, saying, "He's not going to keep rubbing this in my face. I'll make sure he's taken down a peg." I figured it was just another one of her angry rants. We'd fought before, and I assumed this would blow over too. But I couldn't have been more wrong. A few days before I was supposed to start the new job, I got an email from HR. They had done a sudden background check after receiving some disturbing material, emails and screenshots from fake social media accounts under my name. These messages were full of hateful, discriminatory language. It was completely fabricated. HR told me they were rescinding the offer. Just like that, the job I'd worked so hard to earn was gone. I was in shock, and it didn't take long to figure out who was behind it. Sarah was the only person who knew me well enough to create something so personal and damaging. When I confronted her, she acted innocent at first, but when I pushed harder, her mask slipped. "Maybe you deserve to know what it feels like," she said, her voice shaking with anger. "You've always been the favorite. It's about time you failed for once." I was stunned. My own sister had intentionally sabotaged my future out of jealousy. It wasn't just a fight, it was a calculated attack. She eventually admitted everything. She had made the fake accounts, forged the emails, and sent them to my job. There was a disturbing sense of pride in her confession, like she had finally beaten me at something. I was devastated. This went beyond sibling rivalry. This was betrayal. I told her I never wanted to see her again and left the house that day. I crashed on a friend's couch, trying to figure out how to start over. In the years that followed, I cut Sarah out completely. My parents still saw her from time to time, but they knew better than to mention her around me. Rebuilding my career took time. I had to start with a lower-paying job and work my way back up, but I did it. Eventually, I found stability again. Then I met Lily. That was 5 years ago, and everything finally felt like it was falling into place. She was sweet, funny, and understanding. On our 4th date, I told her everything about Sarah. She listened, sympathized, and said she respected my decision to cut ties. I made it clear, Sarah was not part of my life, and she would not be at my wedding. At first, Lily seemed to get it. But as we got deeper into planning the wedding, things started to change. She kept bringing up Sarah, gently suggesting maybe it was time to forgive and move on. Every time I shut it down. Just the idea of seeing Sarah again made me feel sick. This was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, and having Sarah there would ruin it. Lily would drop the subject for a while, but I could tell she wasn't happy. Everything came to a head last week when we were finalizing the guest list. Lily brought up Sarah again, and this time, she wouldn't let it go. I remember the exact moment everything started to fall apart. We were sitting in the living room, the guest list spread out across the coffee table between us. I was already worn out from a long day at work, and the last thing I wanted was to rehash the same argument we'd been having for weeks. But Lily wasn't letting it drop. "Brian, I really think you should reconsider inviting Sarah," she said softly, like she was trying to ease me into it. "She's your sister. Don't you think it's time to forgive and move on?" I clenched my jaw. It wasn't the first time she'd said that, but something about the way she looked at me hit differently this time. Hopeful, concerned. Maybe it was just how tired I was from constantly having to say no. Either way, her words landed hard that night. "Lily, we've talked about this. It's not happening. Having her there will ruin everything. You know what she did to me?" She let out a sigh, frustration barely hidden. But it was years ago. People change. Maybe she's different now. Maybe she regrets it. That old anger bubbled back up. Regrets it? She wrecked my childhood, my career, my reputation. She knew exactly what she was doing. You don't just regret something like that. Her eyes searched mine, hoping I'd soften even a little. I'm not saying what she did was okay. I just think maybe she deserves a chance to make things right. I stared at her, stunned. Why are you pushing this? Why does she deserve a chance to be at our wedding? Lily's face went still. Because family matters, Brian. I can't imagine cutting someone off forever. Those words cut deeper than I expected. Family? You think this is about some childhood spat? She didn't steal my toys or read my diary. She sabotaged my life. I had to rebuild everything because of her. She shook her head, her voice sharper now. You're being stubborn. You're punishing her for a mistake she made when she was young. That did it. I snapped. A mistake? Do you know how humiliating it was to lose that job, to watch my name get dragged through the mud, because my own sister couldn't stand that I was doing better than her? That wasn't a mistake, Lily. That was cruelty. Lily crossed her arms, looked away. Maybe she's grown. Maybe she wants to apologize. And maybe I don't care. I shot back. She made her choices. I made mine. I told you, this is a boundary. If you can't respect that, maybe we shouldn't be getting married. Her eyes widened. The hurt on her face was immediate. You're seriously saying that? Over this? Yes, I said. Because it's not just this. It's about trust. You're supposed to be on my side. You knew how much this meant to me, and you're still trying to change my mind. We sat in silence. My heart was pounding, each beat a painful echo of how far we'd fallen from the happy couple we used to be. Lily finally whispered, I thought you'd understand. I thought love meant forgiveness. I shook my head, voice low. Love also means respect. And I can't respect someone who won't respect my boundaries. She didn't say another word. She just sat there, her eyes glassy with tears that didn't fall. After what felt like forever, she stood and walked out of the room. I sat alone, staring at the guest list, names blurring as my vision went misty. The next day, things were different. Cold. Lily barely spoke to me, and when she did, it was clipped and distant. This version of her, quiet, distant, was worse than any shouting match. It felt like a wall had gone up between us, and neither of us knew how to break it down. I kept telling myself it would pass. We loved each other. We'd been through worse. This was just a rough patch. But deep down, I knew something had shifted. Trust had cracked. And once that happens, it's almost impossible to put it back together. A week later, it all blew up. I came home late from work, completely drained. As soon as I walked in, I saw Lily sitting at the dining table. Her face was pale, hands shaking. The air between us felt heavy, like something terrible was about to happen. What's going on? I asked cautiously. She looked up, her eyes full of guilt. Brian, I need to tell you something, she said, her voice barely steady. My stomach twisted. What is this about? I reached out to Sarah, she whispered. For a second, I thought I heard her wrong. You what? My voice came out louder than I meant. I found her on social media a few months ago, she said, tears building. We've been talking. I just wanted to understand what happened between you two, and I invited her to the wedding. It felt like the floor disappeared beneath me. I couldn't breathe. My head buzzed with noise. You invited her? My voice shook, barely under control. I'm sorry, she cried. I thought it was the right thing to do. I thought maybe, if she came, you two could finally know. I cut her off, my voice sharp. You went behind my back. You did the one thing I begged you not to. You betrayed me. Brian, please, she begged through tears. I love you. I was trying to help. I let out a bitter laugh. You think this is helping? You knew how I felt, and you did it anyway. This isn't love, Lily. This is manipulation. She reached for me, but I stepped back, my heart splintering in my chest. "Brian, wait," she said, voice cracking. "There's more." I thought she changed. I really did. But when I talked to her, I realized I was wrong. She hesitated, like the words physically hurt. She said, "Oh, you're his new girl? How can you be with such a loser?" My chest tightened. I clenched my fists. Of course, Sarah hadn't changed. Of course, she'd lash out, even at someone trying to be kind. Lily kept crying. That's when I realized, you were right all along. I was wrong to reach out. I thought I was helping, but I only made things worse. I see it now. I'm so sorry. Her words filled the room, but they didn't ease the pain. Not even a little. "You should have trusted me," I said quietly. "You should have listened when I told you what I needed." Lily sobbed, burying her face in her hands. But I couldn't bring myself to console her. My heart was in pieces. The one person I trusted most had gone behind my back, thinking she knew better than I did. If you don't trust my judgment, if you can't respect me enough to stand by me, then there's nothing left, I said. She cried harder. "Don't say that. We can fix this." I shook my head. The pain was too much to hide. "No, Lily, you broke my trust. And without trust, there's nothing left to fix." I turned and walked away, each step heavier than the last. The silence between us said it all. It felt like a door slamming shut on the life we'd built together. I knew it was over, and the pain was unlike anything I'd ever felt. The silence in our apartment was unbearable after the fight. I spent the night in the guest room, staring at the ceiling, replaying every word we said. My mind was like a storm I couldn't shut off. Sleep never came, just a constant cycle of anger, betrayal, and heartbreak. By morning, the weight of everything hit me hard. I could hear Lily moving around, her footsteps soft as she packed. I didn't have to ask what she was doing. I already knew. The life we'd built over 5 years was unraveling, and once again, it was because of Sarah. Neither of us could stop it. When Lily finally stepped out of the room with her suitcase in hand, our eyes met. Her face was streaked with tears, but there was a calm determination in her expression. "Are you sure this is what you want, Brian?" she asked, her voice barely audible. I swallowed hard, my throat tight. "No, Lily, this isn't what I want, but it's what you've left me with." She nodded, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. "I never meant to hurt you." "I know," I said, my voice cracking. "But that doesn't change what you did." We stood there, silent, weighed down by everything unspoken. Then she turned and walked out. The sound of the door closing behind her felt final, too final. I collapsed onto the couch, the emptiness closing in around me. The silence wasn't peaceful, it was deafening. The next few days were a haze. I officially called off the wedding, canceling the venue, the caterers, the florist. Every phone call felt like another knife to the heart, like I was dismantling a dream, piece by piece. My friends tried to be supportive, but not everyone understood. Lily's family certainly didn't. Her mom called me heartless, accusing me of throwing away a perfect relationship over petty sibling drama. Her brother, someone I used to be close with, sent a long, bitter text, telling me I was making the biggest mistake of my life. I stared at my phone, numb. They didn't know the full story. They didn't understand how deep the pain went. Then my own family decided to chime in. My parents called nonstop, leaving voicemails that ranged from emotional pleas to guilt trips. My mom's voice cracked with emotion. "Brian, please, this could be a chance to heal the family. Don't let this destroy everything." But I wasn't the one who destroyed anything. That was Sarah, and now Lily. The people who were supposed to love me had crossed lines I couldn't forgive. One night after work, I came home to an email from Sarah. I nearly deleted it without reading, but curiosity got the better of me. The subject line said simply, "I'm sorry." It was a long email, filled with apologies and explanations. She wrote about years of therapy, trying to understand her jealousy and resentment. She admitted what she did was unforgivable, but claimed she'd changed. She wanted to reconnect, to make amends, to be a sister again. I read it, feeling nothing but exhaustion. Was I really supposed to believe a few years of therapy erased all that pain? Could it undo what I'd lost, my dream job, my pride, the struggle to rebuild everything from scratch? The wounds were too deep. I closed the email without replying. That weekend, I stayed in, trying to process everything. My mind kept drifting back to Lily. I missed her laugh, the way her eyes lit up when she talked about the things she loved. But I couldn't shake the sense that our trust was broken. It wasn't just Sarah. It was Lily choosing to ignore something I'd been clear about since the beginning, going behind my back to prove a point. I tried to burn the anger off, played basketball, hit the gym until my legs gave out, focused on physical pain to drown the emotional one. Later, I sat in my car, drenched in sweat, staring blankly out the windshield. Was I being too stubborn? Was this really worth losing Lily over? But every time I thought about reaching out, I remembered how it felt when she admitted she'd gone behind my back. The betrayal. The heartbreak of knowing the person I loved didn't respect my boundaries. No matter how much I loved her, that pain was still raw. too deep to ignore. By Tuesday, I walked into work feeling like a shell of myself. My boss, Ashley, a tough, no-nonsense woman, pulled me aside. She'd always had my back, and today was no different. "You doing okay?" she asked, her voice gentler than usual. "I'm getting there," I said, forcing a smile. She gave me a look, thoughtful. "Sometimes standing your ground is the hardest thing to do, but it's worth it." Her words stayed with me. I threw myself into work, letting the rhythm of coding pull me away from the chaos in my head. When I got home that night, the apartment felt even emptier. But for the first time in days, I felt a tiny bit of peace. I had made the right choice. It still hurt like hell, but at least I didn't betray myself. That night, I deleted Sarah's email. I didn't need to read it again. I already knew my answer. Days passed. Life kept moving, but I felt frozen. The apartment, once full of laughter and love, now felt cold and hollow. Lily's absence was everywhere. Her side of the closet empty, half the bathroom shelves bare. I kept catching myself expecting to hear her voice, only to remember she was gone. I buried myself in work, drowning in long hours and tough projects. But no matter how busy I stayed, the weight of it all lingered. The betrayal, the broken trust, the future I thought we'd have. Then came the call. My phone buzzed one night. For a second, I thought about ignoring it, but something told me to answer. "Hi, Mom," I said, voice flat. "Brian," she replied carefully, "please come to dinner this weekend. We need to talk." "I don't think it's a good idea," I said, already tired. "Please," she whispered. "It's important." Against my better judgment, I agreed. Maybe part of me still hoped they'd finally understand, see my side. But deep down, I knew I was setting myself up for disappointment. Saturday came. I drove to my parents' house with a knot in my stomach. The place I grew up now felt unfamiliar, tinged with sadness. I climbed the steps and took a deep breath. The door opened, and my mom gave me a strained smile. "I'm so glad you came," she said, pulling me into a hug that felt more like desperation than comfort. I stepped inside, and immediately I felt it. Something was off. The air was heavy, like a storm about to break. And then I saw her, Sarah, sitting at the dining table. Our eyes met, hers wide with something that almost looked like regret. And just like that, a cold wave of anger hit me all over again. "What is she doing here?" I demanded, my voice unsteady. "Brian, please," my dad said, his face full of pain. "We just want to help you find peace." "What's wrong with everyone?" I snapped. "You did this behind my back. You set me up." The betrayal hit me hard, like a punch to the gut. "You ambushed me." My mom's eyes filled with tears. "We thought if you two just talked, you could finally heal." I shook my head, fists clenched. "You don't get it. You never have." "Brian, wait," Sarah said, her voice trembling. I just wanted to say I'm sorry, but her words were just noise. I turned to my parents, bitterness rising in my throat. "You're still trying to fix something that's completely broken. You can't force this." My dad's voice cracked. "We just want our family back. This is your family now," I said coldly. A place where trust doesn't matter and betrayal gets ignored. I turned toward the door, the finality of it all pressing down on me. "I told you where I stand. If you can't respect that, then I don't know what else to say." I walked out, my heart pounding. My mom's sobs followed me down the stairs, but I didn't look back. The cold night air hit me, and for the first time in a long while I felt clear. The lines were drawn. I didn't cross theirs, and I wouldn't let them cross mine. That night, I sat in my car for a long time before driving home. My phone buzzed nonstop, texts from my parents, from Sarah, even from Lily. They probably told her everything. I ignored them. I wasn't ready to respond, to explain myself again, to justify my pain. I'd done that enough. When I finally got home, the apartment didn't feel as empty as before. It felt like space I could breathe in. I was done clinging to relationships that hurt, done trying to fit broken pieces together. The next few days passed in quiet reflection. I knew I'd burned some bridges that couldn't be rebuilt, but there was freedom in that. I wasn't carrying the weight of other people's expectations anymore. I wasn't obligated to forgive someone who hadn't earned it. One evening, I met up with some friends. They'd been worried about me, and I figured it was time to come out of hiding. We went to this small bar downtown. Low music, easy conversation. As I sipped my drink and listened to them laugh, I realized how much I'd isolated myself. The world hadn't stopped because my engagement ended. Life kept going, and I could too. Later that night, as we left the bar, my friend Sam clapped me on the shoulder. "You did the right thing, man," he said. "Takes guts to stand up for yourself." I nodded, a small smile forming. For the first time, I believed him. Standing my ground had cost me, but losing myself would have cost even more. The next morning, I walked along the beach. The waves rolled gently onto the shore, and the golden morning sun danced on the water. I took a deep breath, filling my lungs with salty air. There was still pain, still loss, but there was also hope. I was finally free to build a life where my boundaries were honored, where I didn't have to sacrifice my peace just to make someone else feel comfortable. I didn't know what the future held, but for once, that didn't scare me. One step at a time, I'd figure it out. Days turned into weeks, and life found a new rhythm. I wasn't the same person I was before the breakup, but I felt more grounded. There was peace in the quiet, in focusing on myself. I spent more time with friends who truly saw me. We explored hidden coastal trails, sat around bonfires on cool nights, and shared stories that felt real. These friendships weren't built on pressure or betrayal. They reminded me what connection was supposed to feel like. They gave me the strength to keep moving. At work, things were steady. I threw myself into new projects and welcomed challenges that made me grow. One day, my boss Denise pulled me aside after a meeting. "You've been doing great, Brian," she said with a smile. "I can see how focused you are. Keep it up." I nodded, feeling a small surge of pride. Her words reminded me that I was still capable, still driven. My past hadn't broken me. It had shaped me into someone stronger. One weekend, I decided to clear out the apartment. It was time to let go of what tied me to the past. As I sorted through drawers and closets, I found bits of my life with Lily, a single earring, a movie stub, a grocery list in her handwriting. Each piece held a memory. But instead of sinking into it, I let each one go. I boxed them up, sealed the lid, and set it aside. Letting go didn't mean forgetting. It meant choosing to move forward without the weight of what could have been. The apartment felt different afterward. Lighter. It finally felt like mine. I moved the furniture around, added a few plants, hung new art. It started to look like a reflection of who I was becoming, not who I used to be. One night while I was making dinner, a hobby I was finally getting better at, my phone buzzed. It was a message from my mom. "We miss you. Please talk to us when you're ready." I stared at it for a while. The pain from that dinner ambush still lingered. But I also knew my parents weren't bad people. They just didn't understand the pain I'd carried, the boundaries I needed. I didn't respond right away. I needed more time, and that was okay. Healing didn't have a deadline. A few weeks later, I was at a rooftop party downtown when I met someone new. Her name was Emily. She had a warm smile and made conversation feel easy. We talked about everything: books, road trips, Texas barbecue. She didn't push, didn't ask questions I wasn't ready to answer. She just existed in the moment with me. It was refreshing. I didn't have to explain myself, didn't have to defend my boundaries. I could just be. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in orange and purple, Emily turned to me and smiled. "Feel like grabbing a milkshake?" she asked. I laughed. "Sure, just don't make me sing karaoke." She grinned, and in that moment, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time: warmth. Not the thrill of falling in love, but the quiet comfort of a fresh start. That night, as I stepped back into my apartment, I realized something. I wasn't over everything. Sarah's betrayal, Lily's broken trust, they still left scars. But those scars didn't define me. They were just part of my story, and I was stronger now, more aware of what I needed and what I deserved. I stood at the window, watching the Austin skyline glow under the night sky. The world was still moving, and so was I. The road ahead was uncertain, but I wasn't afraid anymore. I had boundaries. I had self-respect, and I finally had a clear sense of who I was. Sometimes, standing your ground means losing people you love. But in the end, it also means finding yourself.